this timing is deliberate. It's to send a deliberate message to Harry that the royal family have not forgotten what has been happening over the last 4 years. Most commentators certainly thought that the king and Harry would meet and that there would be time at this very, very stressful period. Obviously, with the king recovering from cancer and undergoing treatment, but nonetheless, despite the fact that he's got a full diary, that they would be meeting. This isn't the case. And obviously, people have been analyzing as to why. But I think we remember when Harry, naturally, as any son would, saw King Charles after he was told that he had a cancer diagnosis. And the two of them, somewhat disputed, they met in a very short length of time. We don't know actually how that meeting went. No one has said, and naturally they haven't. However, afterwards, Harry did, as the Sussexes are wont to do, this business of giving an interview, not about the content of their meeting, but what he said was, on Good Morning America, that he thought that the fact the king was ill, this could reunify the royal family, and so forth, making comments about bridging gaps. And also, there were sources who were hinting that Harry might be prepared to step in and do some royal duties. Now, that hasn't been confirmed, of course. But the problem is this, and I think this is what King Charles does not want. The Sussexes seem almost invariably to be involved with media activity when they see or are involved even in sensitive issues. I don't think that the king wanted Harry to go on television and talk even in general terms about the family coming together. This happens, obviously, in times of serious illness. But this was not only a private meeting, but had Harry kept it completely private and not made any comment, I think that would have been preferable. And the problem here is that we've known for some time that there was a service at St. Paul's to commemorate Invictus, which is a wonderful project. But the problem, again, has been, and we had this before the coronation as well, would Harry and Meghan attend? If so, I mean, as it happened, Harry did and she didn't. And for the service at St. Paul's, Harry's attending and Meghan isn't, for obvious reasons. She's not popular. There's enormous press hostility, and frankly, it's her own fault, in my opinion. But the facts are she's wise not to. However, it's clear, I think, to the king, and obviously he was very, very distressed by Harry's attacks on Queen Camilla, not just in spare, but also in interviews, the implication that the Sussexes were sacrificed on the altar of Queen Camilla's desire for rehabilitation, all of this whole area. And I think that he also regards the fact that there was this media circus around the event at St. Paul's. Would Harry see the king? Would he see William and Catherine? This was never likely. The facts are that there's a very deep rift in the royal family. And if the king has made it clear that obviously he will, we know he's kept the door open, he will at a future occasion see Harry. But in my view, the best way of handling this, and the only way of handling it, not to mention the idea that this rift is deep and very, very public now, especially since the king is making William Colonel-in-Chief of the Army Air Corps, and Harry served in the Army Air Corps on his second term of duty in Afghanistan. He was unwise in spare to list the number of Taliban he personally killed at that time. But the facts are that he has an important link with the regiment, and the facts are also that there's a ceremony next Monday which the king and the royals do nothing by accident. This timing is deliberate. It's to send a deliberate message to Harry that the royal family have not forgotten what has been happening over the last 4 years. Remember that Oprah went out when Prince Philip was in hospital. Now, the facts are that they didn't know that he was going to be in hospital when it was planned. And of course, there were all sorts of reasons why it might not have been in the Sussexes' control and might have been up to Oprah and the television company to pull it. But the facts were that it appeared utterly tasteless, especially since the month thereafter, tragically, sadly, he died just short of his 100th birthday, of course, which would have been in June that year. And Prince Philip was Harry's father. Sorry, Prince Philip was King Charles's father. He hasn't forgotten that. And that is just one very, very significant episode because Oprah did enormous damage to the royal family, and the Sussexes, as I say, knew exactly what they were doing. And so you've got a background to this that is deeply unhappy. You've got a total lack of trust, that's abundantly clear. And so far as William's concerned, I can't see the rift ever being bridged, at least not at the moment, and at least not under the circumstances that we're looking at now. I mean, the appointment as Colonel-in-Chief of the Army Air Corps, the fact that this is going to take place this next Monday, that there's going to be a ceremony, obviously it sends a message to Harry, who served with the Army Air Corps, and there's no question that it was meant to. It's been timed for now quite deliberately. So it will depend, so far as the rift is concerned, as I read it, as to whether or not the Sussexes, at some future occasion, Harry comes over. He doesn't tell anyone he's coming. He and the king could then spend quite a long time together. Had he, for example, had a more extended stay in Britain this week, that might conceivably have happened even under the current circumstances I've been describing. But we know that he and Meghan had fixed up a trip to Nigeria. Nigeria is a member of the Commonwealth. The Sussexes had talking heads on their documentary Harry and Meghan for Netflix, who trashed the Commonwealth, which was Queen Elizabeth's great achievement and her legacy, really. And I think that that was considered utterly tasteless. There is no doubt at all that if, whilst in Nigeria, if they could be persuaded, if Harry or Meghan would make it, they'll obviously be making speeches in one way or another. I don't know their schedule. I don't think it's been announced, but it would be helpful if they made a comment that was favorable about the Commonwealth. Nigeria is a member of the Commonwealth that was suspended in part of the 1990s, but nonetheless, it may well host a future Invictus Games. If Harry and Meghan were to make a comment that was favorable to the Commonwealth, I'm sure it would be appreciated by the royal family. Essentially, the royal family, before they want anything to do with the Sussexes, it's perfectly clear, want to make sure that they won't be subject to further attacks, and that the media, at least for the time being, this media circus that's surrounding everything they're doing is not acceptable. So if Harry wants to see the king and came over privately and didn't tell anyone and didn't announce it, I'm sure that that would be appreciated.